Those wise sages from another land, they have seen an unusual star shining over the desert, and they've committed. It's time to take a risk and follow that star. They've traveled far in pursuit of the one through whom the light shines, the one we've come to know as the light of the world. We're each called to follow that star, to take the faith-inspired risk, to bring our greatest, most valuable gift to Jesus. This year, I resolve to give my most valuable gift to Jesus. Do you know what your most valuable gift is? It's not a brass urn of frankincense or myrrh. It's not a bar of gold or a bag of jewels or money. The creation story reminds us that each of us human beings, regardless of gender or race, regardless of religious belief or practice, regardless of the place of our birth or the place of our residence, we are each made as beloved children in the image of God. God is incarnate in Jesus and made flesh in us too. This great gift, our whole beloved self, is the greatest gift that we can offer. Our lives are that very gift that we bring. Like many of you, I've followed the light of Jesus for a very long time. It started for me when I was about 13, when I first really got to know about Jesus, to know people who believed in Him and strived to follow His teachings. I followed from my home in the Flint Hills of Kansas and traveling then to see the service of the church with the poor and the homeless in Kansas City, and then the church working for justice in Washington and in New York City. Then I was off to Baker University, our local United Methodist College, and then seminary in Ohio. And while I was there, I served with inner city children and as a youth minister and as a hospital chaplain. In my late 20s, I came back to Kansas to start my pastoral ministry. I was fortunate then to take a conference trip to South Africa and Zimbabwe and witness the work of the United Methodist Church in education and mission. Then I came back and I was blessed to serve as campus minister at Kansas State University, and then I traveled to China to become mom to Anna. And shortly after, we moved to Atlanta, across the country, where I served as Dean of Students, working with hundreds upon hundreds of wonderful seminary students, many of them United Methodist, an incredible 12 years. Then we headed back to Kansas. I served in Atchison in a significant community ministry, and since then I've served at the will and the whim of the Great Plains Conference leadership out in tiny rural Whiting and Netawaka, in the grieving congregation at Bonner Springs, and now here in mission-minded Edgerton. You've seen your own star and made your own journey. We each follow the light of Jesus, striving to give our gift through days and nights and down roads we might never have anticipated. The Holy Spirit is not named in that story of the wise one seeking Jesus, yet I am sure that Spirit was present. In recent years, the Holy Spirit has been like a whirlwind in my life, calling me, leading me, as I prepare a way to live more fully into my faith. I've seen a star breaking through the clouds that have overshadowed my ministry, calling me to risk a challenging new journey. The Spirit has at last convinced me it's time. This Epiphany Sunday, I share where God has led me, my full acceptance and celebration of who I am as created by God, and the valuable gift of my full self that I am called to give. I went on retreat in November, and I spent a lot of time walking outside and praying, and hymns kept filling my heart. Great is thy faithfulness. I want to walk as a child of the light. And again, lead me, guide me along the way. Lord, if you lead me, I cannot stray. Lord, let me walk each day with thee. Lead me, O Lord, lead me. The Lord has led me here to share my deep truth with you. It's time. I've been an ordained United Methodist pastor for 25 years. At last, I am choosing to serve in that role with full authenticity, as my genuine self, as a woman who loves and shares my life with another woman. I remained single through 20 years of my ministry. And then a few years ago, a wonderful relationship began to develop. In the midst of much prayer, at long last, Mary and I decided that the Holy Spirit had whirled us around and brought us together, that our relationship is a holy part of God's calling on our lives. We chose to commit our lives in love and covenant with one another. It was time. Ideally, my telling you that I am in a committed relationship would simply mean that I could relate to you and to everyone else in openness and honesty, offering my most valuable gift, my full self, that I could stop saying, I'm going on vacation with a friend, that I could use the great sermon illustrations that come from ordinary day-to-day life as a couple. I could stop pretending to live alone, that I could stop denying who I proudly, faithfully am, and who I proudly, faithfully love. I rest secure in God's faithful love for me and trust that God continues to guide me on this journey. Some of you may be unsurprised, maybe even appreciative of my openness today. Some of you may be confused about what I'm saying or what it might mean for this church. Some of you may be troubled, upset, angry. I understand. And I want to answer those questions, respond to your feelings as fully as I am able. I am the same pastor I've been with you over these past months. The same pastor that has served in all those churches and mentored all those students. The same pastor who has sat with families in crisis, addressed tragedies in communities, performed weddings, baptized babies, led meaningful funeral services, and celebrated Holy Communion again and again with you and so many others. I'm now simply more fully open and honest, able to share with you about my daily life in a loving partnership, to talk normally about my ordinary life, just as you do about yours, able to live my life and live into this new calling, fully integrated, open, vulnerable, true. It's time. I see the star shining, calling. I'm walking as a child of that light, bringing my full self as a gift for Jesus, for God's people, for the church. My serving as pastor while living fully into the life that God has created me for and called me to, as a woman in a committed relationship with another woman, well, that will seem to some to challenge church policy. Certainly there are many in leadership in the United Methodist Church who see those restrictions to be unjust, discriminatory, not exemplifying the loving and inclusive way of Jesus. Yet there are discriminatory restrictions in place in the Book of Discipline. It's a don't ask, don't tell system. So my openness with you, my desire to live authentically in every facet of my life, this serves as an act of civil disobedience. My best gift is to be no more a victim of church policy, but rather to live in faith as a conscientious objector, an activist for God's embracing love. My grounds are simply that God's amazing grace extends to all, and all means all. All are joyously created in God's image. All are welcomed at this table of Jesus' boundless love. All are led by the unpredictable inspiration of the Holy Spirit. It's time for that biblical truth to be incarnate, made real in the flesh, in the United Methodist Church. We're all beloved by God, the real me and the real you, all welcomed by Jesus, all inspired by the Holy Spirit to live the faithful lives and to pursue the ministries to which we are called. The weeks and months to come may be challenging for this congregation. And this time also offers an opportunity for deep and broad spiritual growth and connection. I pray that you will choose to come together rather than to come apart. I am your pastor, and I am praying for all of you this day and every day. I covet your prayers as I learn to live into the freedom offered by God's love always, a freedom that I am finally, fully accepting and embracing this day. Perhaps the message for each of us this Epiphany, revealed by the light of the world, our guiding star, is this: we are each created in God's image, through God's love that never leaves us. May we live fully into that love, authentically, openly. May we each keep striving to walk as a child of the light. I've come to love you, this congregation, Your commitment and care and service and joy and faith. That faith need not be shaken today. Your commitment to one another and this congregation need not waver. For great is God's faithfulness today and all days. I've spoken what for some of you may be pretty hard words this Epiphany Sunday. I've spoken my deep truth. No matter your reaction, the light still shines. God has been made flesh in Jesus, who offers life to all. A bright star draws us to take great, faithful risks, to bring our greatest gifts ourselves, no matter the challenge of the journey. And God ever leads us and guides us, accompanies us, holds us in amazing grace. It's time to follow the star. It's time to live in the light. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. The light shines on each of us. See, the light shines through each of us. Be radiant. It's time. It's time.